This presentation is for the program Operation Safe Youth, and I am Yvonne Ontiveros Lopez for KRS 484. When deciding my topic and focus, I decided to go with accidental firearm injuries and fatalities, with the focus on adolescent injuries and or fatalities from firearms that were not being stored or secured properly. So, accidental firearm injuries and fatalities. These are the statistics, but before we get to these, I just wanted to give some background information on how the data is collected. The CDC collects this data from a database system, and that system collects reports, police reports, death certificates, and off of those things collected, they pull victim information, death, cause of death, and the circumstances that surrounded that death. And so the CDC will compile this information, categorize it, and put out these numbers. One thing to remember is that these numbers are not 100% accurate. We don't know the true numbers or if these are 100% accurate because of misclassification and under and over reporting. We see misclassification by people who saying that it was a firearm accident when there was assault and they don't want to report it because of law enforcement or retaliation. There's also the deaths, where those are over or underreported because a suicide may be reported as an accident, which causes the number to go up. Or an accident was missed and it was classified as something else, so it may be underreported. So now, looking at these numbers, there's an estimated that nationwide annually 27,000 individuals are admitted to the emergency room for unintentional firearm injuries. And of those unintentional firearm injuries, 37% are non-fatal firearm injuries. In 2019, 486 Americans died from unintentional firearm injuries, and that makes up 1.2% of total gun deaths. So 492 people unintentionally die by a firearm in an average year. And for the state of Hawaii specifically, there was 56 people that died and 72 that were wounded by guns. At-risk populations. So certain individuals are at higher risk of suffering firearm injuries or fatality, but the highest risk are adolescents, and this is due to their specific behavioral characteristics at that time and age group. So they have feelings of invincibility and curiosity about firearms, and then they can also be impulsive, especially when angered or emotional. Then there are persons under the influence of alcohol or other substances. When you're under the influence, you can have impaired judgment, and certain substances can lead to violent behavior. Then there's persons with dementia. So these persons have impaired cognition, judgment, and a challenge with their emotional control. And then because they also have dementia, it may not be safe for them to handle a firearm, and they have a misperception of actual threats. So the person might know you, but because of their dementia, they may forget who you are and view you as a threat, which could cause them to injure a family member. Now that you have some background information on firearms and injuries, fatalities, that leads me to my program, Operation Safe Youth. And this program has a focus on educating parents who are gun owners and the importance of firearm safety around adolescents, or with adolescents in the home. And the theory behind this is because adolescents are the highest at-risk population for unintentional firearm injuries and fatalities. So program logic and mapping. So this is addressing accidental or unintentional firearm injuries and fatalities. The outcome of this program is to educate parents who are gun owners on how to properly store their firearms, and also educate parents that adolescents are the highest risk for unintentional firearm injuries and fatalities. And the long-term goal is also to decrease the number of adolescents injured or killed in the state of Hawaii and have those numbers carry over nationally. Because I do live in the state of Hawaii, and that's where I'm currently located, this program will focus specifically for the state of Hawaii, but can be adapted to any other state throughout the nation. So a couple things to be aware is that 56 people die and 72 are wounded by guns in Hawaii. Hawaii has their gun rate increased from 38% from 2010 to 2019. And then there are insufficient data on the gun deaths among children and teens for the state of Hawaii. And that could be a possible limitation that we'll discuss in the next slide. So a majority of the people killed in firearm accidents that are under the age of 24. Most of these young people are being shot by someone else, but around their same age, and it's by someone that they know, such as a friend or a family member. An example would be like their older brother. However, those majority of the people killed that were under the age of 24, there is no breakdown of the age groups, so it's hard to say whether they were children, adolescents, or young adults. So the participation would be primarily the Honolulu Police Department, specifically Firearms Division. And we would like them to utilize their HPD website, possibly copies of handbooks and a QR code that would direct parents and gun owners to resources and information to help educate them. We would like the target population to be the gun owners who have adolescents in or around their residence. And then the way that this program would be implemented is that the Honolulu Police Department and Firearms Division would reach out and possibly partner with Operation Safe Child. This organization provides the handbook that lists in detail how to properly handle a weapon, properly store a weapon, prohibited persons that should not be around weapons, if you're going to store a weapon properly in a vehicle, children are being such high risk and how to mitigate that, and many other resources and information. They also provide free safe storage kits to provide to gun owners. So we would like HPD to work with them and possibly get kits for our Hawaii residents. HPD can also provide a QR code around the Firearms Division office, so that way when people come in to register their firearms or apply for a firearm permit, then they can have access to that QR code. This also saves the police department money from having to actually use material to print out a physical copy of the handbook. They can also publish statistics and resources on their Honolulu Police Department firearms website. And HPD can also reach out and partner with local firearms stores to see if they can place up the QR code that directs individuals to the website and resources. When thinking about program feasibility and limitations, I do believe that this program appears to be highly feasible and accommodating to the Honolulu Police Department, especially because it's reasonable on their budget. This program does not require expensive materials that would put a strain on the state's budget. As far as limitations goes, a possible limitation is the lack of state support based on Hawaii-specific statistics on gun injuries and deaths. Because we lack the numbers, there may not feel that there is a need for this program. These are the references that I utilized for this presentation, and this concludes my project.